Welcome to This New Idea. I'm your host, Conrad Meyers. I am live streaming here from Vallejo, and I'm so pleased to be able to talk to my good friend, Dean DeMatteis, of Oakland. We used to be damn near next door neighbors until I ended up making the trek up here to Vallejo. And he's still in the most wonderful warehouse building in the world, aren't you? How you doing, Dean?
Yes. Good. How are you?
Man, look at that sunset. Your face is going to go Arctic white.
It's about 110 degrees right here where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I am similarly. I'm in a southwest facing room of this house that we rent in Vallejo,
Yeah.
and it's the room where we have this wonderful utility mounted, but unfortunately, because it's southwest facing and we don't have air conditioning or anything, this is the room that climbs. So I have to I close all the shades, close the door, and don't go in this room for the whole day in preparation for this new idea, as to keep it the minimum temperature, which usually is still about 82 when I start this.
Wow.
So we're not going to talk about
It's like-
the length of my short pants.
It's like an easy bake oven, basically, right?
Yeah, the whole house
Yeah.
is. We Willis, I didn't have to deal with it when we first moved in here. I was just working in a frenzy, and so Willis had to figure out how to keep this house temperature down, because we're on a hill in
Yeah.
Vallejo, and it gets so stinking hot because of the sun. But the second the sun sets, it drops down to the 60s every night. It's not far off from Oakland in that way, but the winds kick up and they just suck through the house, and it can just kind of suck the heat out. But the house itself gets up to 80 plus. When we were having those 90 days a couple of weeks ago, and it was getting up there. This is a boring part of the conversation.
It's quite. It's topical.
My new idea is to insulate a house. I know that somebody's thought of that. I need a time machine.
Building a house. If you were building a house on the hill in Vallejo, how would you insulate it? How would you fix this problem if you were the contractor?
I think with this place, I bet the ceiling's not insulated, and I bet the two walls that face south aren't insulated. They might be. There's like a 14-inch square attic portal in one of the closets I could go up into, but I really don't want to play that spider hunting game.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how's that place been treating you? Are you bored out of your goddamn mind? Isolated? Yeah.
My house?
Yeah.
No, I'm not bored. I kind of find ways of entertaining myself. Still see people, from a distance. I go to people's houses and.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant out the window.
Yeah. I also see people out the window. A lot of loud engines and people screaming.
Yeah.
So it's never a dull moment here. Yeah.
Uh,
How about you? What are you doing up there on the hill?
just working.
Is it quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This neighborhood is very suburban.
Yeah.
But also we're close enough to excitement where, last night, there were fireworks going off that I could see, and
Yeah, I have those.
there's some good donuts every once in a while. You hear donuts, and then about 10 minutes later, the whole house smells like the rubber.
I have donuts as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Do you ever? No, go ahead. I was gonna say, do you ever look out at your vista and think about getting a boat?
Yeah, I dream about having a boat. I've been dreaming about having a boat pretty much my whole life.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, I always wanted a boat. And then instead of being thoughtful about how to get to a boat, I got an art degree.
Well, what about an inexpensive boat, like a little rowboat?
Yeah.
Canoe?
A canoe?
Is that rowboat a real boat?
Would you canoe on I guess you could canoe in the Napa River.
I would canoe in Vallejo.
Just go out onto the river or around Mare Island, or what? What would you do?
I don't know.
I
just drop it in.
I like the idea of just being on a boat for 10 hours a week. I like that idea. I'd like to read, go read on a boat, go fish, eat that fish. That
You
sounds.
could do it. I'm sure you could find. I bet you could go to Craigslist free and get a free boat.
Oh, and then just put it up on stilts and fix it up for the next 10 years. Yeah. Do you remember when Pete Hickok got a boat? Do you remember that? I went boat shopping with him, and we went.
He bought a boat.
He bought
You
a
went
boat.
with a friend to buy a boat.
He got a grant to do a project in Sausalito, and because in Sausalito there was a planned landfill, and so they pre-sold all this land, and then it got defunded, and it never happened. And so people bought this land, but it's still in the bay. And there's a boating, houseboats that like basically are squatting on these people's land that they own. It's this really peculiar bureaucratic error that happened in like the 60s and the 70s. But then there's this whole houseboat community in northern Sausalito. So Pete got a grant for I think $1,000. $10,000 to do this project, and went and bought a $4,000 boat. And I was helping him try to find one for a whole summer. We went to. I would go with him because it was always Craigslist, and you never want to go alone to look at something on Craigslist.
Right.
So I would get drug along, and we'd drive all the way up into the Delta, and it's this guy with the one I remember just very distinctly was the guy with the houseboat that had like the second level of the houseboat had like a full king size bed with like beads as a curtain to get into the bedroom, and it made both Pete and I very anxious. Wait,
what was the curtain?
It was like like beads.
Oh yeah.
But like, and it was very like dim red lights, and like it was not. It didn't seem like it fit the guy's age or personality. Something was going on there.
Wait, so this was a houseboat that you could get for $4,000?
Yeah. I mean, he was just trying to get rid of it, but there might have been some crimes committed in there based on the core. So we got the hell out of there. But he ended up buying this little boat that came with jet skis, and then we went and went around the Delta for 2 days. We went and camped up there, and experienced that world for a minute. But it was, and then he sold it. Like once the project was over, he just got rid of the thing.
What was the project? To go and like
he went
on?
Yeah, he mapped some stuff. He interviewed a bunch of people, produced like a little documentary project. He worked with a writer.
Some famous people lived on those houseboats, right?
Oh, I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, like Shel Silverstein, I think, lived there for a while.
Really? That's interesting.
I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am.
No, I don't know. I when I was a kid, we did boat stuff. This is a strange direction to take this conversation. I mean, I guess.
I'm sorry.
No. There's no judgment, Dean. This is welcome to my talk show that has a free form attitude to it. We can go in whatever direction you want. What started that?
Boats is kind of like a real, like when you're a child that grows up in a place where there is no water, like me, like you don't have experience with boats. You know, like there's no boats. Nobody has boats because you live so far from a lake or whatever.
I lived about 45. I lived about a half an hour from the Delaware River, and there were a lot of creeks, larger creeks, in the part of Pennsylvania that I grew up in. And my uncle, who I miss very dearly, I think the 8th anniversary is passing yesterday, for fuck's sake. But he owned a canoe, and my father and he would go. There's a fish called shad, which are they swim upstream from saltwater to freshwater, and they would go up the Delaware, and it would be in March and April and May, and you'd go and they would be spawning, and you couldn't catch enough of them. And so they would go and park one car lower, take the canoe up to the higher part, canoe, down for 2 days, camp on the side of the river, and some, we did it a couple of years, but it wasn't. I wasn't a fan of that. I was 9. It was more like when I became an adult and could stand and saw how comfortable I was. And I don't get seasick. I haven't been like physically sick since I was in high school. So I just I don't I have an iron stomach, and I really enjoy getting sunburn and water, getting water in my face and sunburn.
Right.
But
Wait, did you say you haven't been sick since you were in high school?
I haven't vomited since I was in high school. I did
you haven't been
one time.
Nauseous or anything?
Not really.
Wow.
You didn't know that about me, Dean. You're,
I don't think it's ever.
It's
What
not
about
cool.
a roller coaster? What are some ways we could get you to feel nauseous? That'd be
I
an
mean,
interesting project.
whiskey doesn't do it. No, I think. I mean, I'm sure we could try drugs, but other than that, I don't think much.
Wow.
I could forward roll down a hill for a half mile.
So amusement rides won't do it.
No.
You live very close to some amusement rides. You could try that.
Yeah, if I go for a 10-minute walk in that direction, I'll see them. I can just see them. Yeah.
Well,
Six
that
Flags.
certainly would be an interesting quest. Like,
How do I? Yeah. Is that
how do
what,
I make myself sick?
is that the Dean and Conrad podcast?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We'll end the podcast with the sound of retching, and that'll be the end of it. Whatever episode that happens on, you'll
last episode.
the last one, you'll achieve success.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking at the viewers at home are seeing you almost completely turn white. It's really incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if we need to make an adjustment though, because I think there's a comedy factor. I'm looking at
I can block it, I guess. I have a piece of foam core.
You could just keep moving an 8.5, 11 piece of paper that just matches as the sun sets. You could just move it ever so slightly.
I can get a piece of foam core.
Yeah, I don't know. You're vanishing.
Am I just completely blown out?
Yeah. Half of your face
All right,
is your left half of your face is just fine.
Can I leave the frame for a second?
Yeah. I'll give a brief bio. Actually,
that's good. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I actually found I'll just keep talking with your absence. You can just unplug. So now that Dean's gone, I'm going to tell you a really nude Freudian slip, a really rude story about him. No, not actually. My comfort in moving to Vallejo was actually because Dean was up here working on the television show 13 Reasons Why for a few seasons, I guess all 4 seasons. So he was in Vallejo hanging out, and when I took a job position in Napa, Vallejo seemed like a good halfway point between Oakland and Napa. I mean, I guess it's the only logical halfway point between Oakland and Napa. But still, Dean and I never managed to hang out while he was working on the 4th season of that show. When I lived in the aggregate building at 801 West Grand Avenue, Dean would come over and watch movies. And Dean, like myself, doesn't have. I was just. Oh, okay. He's about to plug back in. Does that look better? I think that looks much better.
It's too high up. I don't have anything to stand it up.
That's okay. It'll work its way into it. You'll come back to life slowly throughout the.
Yeah, I'll get too dark then, and we'll have to readjust.
I was just explaining to our wonderful audience after this really good slip of the tongue that you and I share an ability to watch movies that aren't good and get through them all the way.
Yeah.
With the understanding that is still a positive life experience. And I have not met a lot of people in the whole world that view it that way. That know in the first maybe 5 or 10 minutes of watching a film, oh, this is absolutely not for me. I'm gonna finish it. And you're like that.
Exactly call that I wouldn't call that an ability, I guess.
What would you call it?
But a pastime.
Yeah, pastime.
In fact, there was a movie that you really loved that I didn't really like, and I actually watched it 3 more times just to try to understand why you would like it. Do you remember what movie that is?
I don't. I actually don't. I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
Well, no. What was it? We can take this
I'm
turn.
not going to tell you.
Why?
It was
Because
Inherent Vice.
Inherent Vice.
Yeah.
I don't recall saying that I liked Inherent Vice. I recall saying that I found it compelling. I've not seen it again since we watched it. I put that in the history of film noir film series I did in whenever that was, 2015. What?
My flag almost fell.
But now it's
okay.
it's perfectly blocking your face now. Now your face is returned.
Yeah.
You're not just the
now you can see me.
the ghost of Oakland past.
Yeah, I think people a lot of times will avoid movies that get bad reviews, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really a viable method, right? I mean, I don't know.
I get jazzed about it. I think, well, you know this about me. I really love movies that are a failure of studio interference. I love that. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that really is so compelling to me. We could tease that out for days. But I love when I read a story about how a movie is a complete disaster, and I think about, like, I mean, like Waterworld or the recent the Fantastic Four movie, or the Superman movie where they had to Photoshop out the mustache of the actor during reshoots. I mean, it's just like there's so many things that happen in big cinema that just and like I think it came out of, like, my love for the Brazil extra cuts or the Blade Runner cuts, or the original Dick Donner Superman 2 that was taken away from him and given to somebody else. Like, I find that, like, the idea that a studio would hire somebody and be like, we have total faith in you that you're going to do a great job on this, and then partway through be like, no, actually, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do all these other things. And I just the thought that you'd be spending a huge amount of money with nobody behind the wheel is compelling to me.
A little bit.
Oh no, you just seized up a moment.
Yeah, you went out for a second. I didn't hear the end of that.
No, Can
you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part of your sentence, but I think that, like, what's interesting about bad movies and why they're worth a watch is because and I know what it takes to make a film like that.
Yeah.
Like, so much money, so many people coming together to make a film, and like, whether it's bad or good, somebody's passion is, like, somebody wanted to make this film.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
almost in every case.
I mean, I think what's funny is that the cases when it goes the worst are when it's an existing property that's being adapted. Right? Like, I think almost all the ones I just cited were pretty much like superhero movies. Or I guess
I was referring to more like The Room, like that famously bad movie. Like, that was his, it doesn't matter how bad it is. He was compelled to make it because he felt something about it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's other. I just read the Martin Short's biography or autobiography.
Yeah.
And he talks about Clifford. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but holy shit, it's so bizarre.
Is that about a dog?
No, it's about a little boy that Martin Short, as a 40-year-old, was playing an 11-year-old boy. And but he played it totally true. But it talks about, like, that, how that movie just bombed and now has found a voice. But it was, everybody agreed that was making it, like, that we're gonna make this movie. And then when it came out and people were like, what is this nonsense?
Yeah. But that has more to do with who Martin Short is and people knowing Martin Short.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
like,
if you had some no-name actor do that nobody knew,
right,
there would be a different understanding of what that film was, right? But since Martin Short, they're looking for laughs. They're like, where's the laughs? This is Martin Short.
It was too dark. That was what a lot of it is.
It becomes something else, right? If it's Martin Short.
But
whereas if it were you playing the part.
Yeah, right, of course. He has an anecdote in the book
or
where
anyone.
his anecdote in the book is that he was sitting like 2 rows behind Nicolas Cage on an airplane, and it was right after Nicolas Cage won the Academy Award for Leaving Las Vegas, and he was sitting there wondering when would be a good time to go over and say congratulations to him. And as he was like thinking about that, he looked up and just saw Nicolas Cage crouched in the aisle and was like, the dining room scene in Clifford, I actually broke the VHS tape, rewinding and rewatching that so many times. It is some of the most brilliant cinema I ever saw. And then he's like, oh, you did a really good job in Leaving Las Vegas. And then he felt like Nicolas Cage would never know that he intended to thank him first.
Right.
It's
I
really...
thought it was like a retort, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen Clifford. I might have to check out Clifford.
Am I not remembering the name right? I should look it up.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was Paul Flaherty directed it, and Charles Grodin plays his either father or uncle that he like terrorizes. But it's like I think he burns the house down in the end. Like it's like kind of psycho, but it's so weird because it's Martin Short playing a kid.
Well, how would you classify it? Is it like a
That's comedy? Yeah, but it's a comedy like Tim and Eric is comedy. Like almost horror movie comedy. Like
Wow,
Cable
I
Guy.
don't remember this at all.
Like you know, I don't know.
It reminds me of that story about Jerry Lewis. Were you the one we talked about this? That he made that film about the clown?
Yeah.
And no one's ever seen it. He buried it, basically. Like, no one's ever seen the movie, but he finished it.
Yeah, no, there are some people that have seen it. You can...
Really?
Yeah. Go ahead, finish your...
It's not on YouTube, right? You can't... It's not, like, available to the public.
No.
It's like...
No, The Day the Clown Died.
The Day the Clown Died,
Yeah. And it was about a clown...
It's like a tragic story about a clown.
It was about a clown during the Holocaust trying to cheer people up.
Yes.
And he wrote and directed it, and it was a passion project over many, many years. And
he actually
shot the whole movie, yeah. And people saw it and were like, you can never show this to anybody. Because it would go from like Jerry Lewis level slapstick. Dean, I lost your video.
It's my phone, man. It says my battery. I just charged this thing.
Well, you're back. It was only brief.
I'm back.
You're back. Do you think it's going to make it the next 37 minutes?
It says 20%. You think I can make it?
That's a pretty low percentage.
Man. Am I going to have to leave the frame again? Well, let's go a little while. When it says 10%, we'll get scared.
We'll get panicky. I'll read the quote, but then you won't hear it. Oh, fuck. Well, whatever. I think there's a...
You didn't...
Yeah, there's... I mean, that's in that same category of complete major missteps.
Yeah.
But that one was more of like he had too much control. Like that's almost the opposite of the ones that I find more compelling, which is when nobody has control. You know, and it's just like a made up, you know, like it's a conglomerate of suits, like of largely completely arrogant white dudes sitting at a boardroom table making decisions about what's going to make money with 14-year-old boys. And then, you know...
Well, I mean, that's been... We've discussed those kind of movies when we talk about some of those Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
Even though we don't agree on some of them.
Yeah. Right. But also, like, like David Fincher's first film, which was Alien 3, which he was brought on as, like, the 8th director, like, while sets were being built, and, you know, fought and made a movie that he didn't really want to make. And still kind of talks about it like that, and then went on to never ever do that again. He only makes movies that he 100% is in charge of and is making sure every detail is correct. You know, so it's like...
but everybody has to get their first movie somehow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what... yeah. The... Yeah, I was talking to Christy Chan a couple of weeks ago, who's been trying to make this film about her as a 8-year-old communicating via snail mail with the KKK, and and like, you know, she's been really trying to make this film for a decade. You know, I mean, she's been writing it for her whole adult life, and is like the biggest problem right now is that like she knows that like no matter what, she's making her movie, And so she's trying to assemble people and is having to, we talked a little bit about it on our show, but like she's having to like listen to these absolutely insane suggestions from people. And she's kind of using it as a litmus test to say, you know, well, I'm not going to work with you, or like I get that you're making that suggestion, but anybody that would make that suggestion would never get the work that I'm trying to do, and I know that this relationship isn't going to work. But like she's told me a couple of anecdotes that aren't repeatable. Like they're insane. Like it's just insane. Like
these are people that are trying to help her with her film.
It's people that are fielding her asks for funding.
Okay.
You know, right. She's in the stage where she's trying to get X amount of dollars. She already has
to get this guy.
She has a good percentage of that already, and she's just trying to assemble the last bits of people and dealing with a variety of advisors, and is on the umpteenth draft. She just redid another draft of it, but you know, it's such a personal story, and I think people like challenge like this isn't cinematic enough, or this doesn't feel true, and she's like, I don't care. It is true. This isn't a made up story. This isn't fiction. So I don't know. Oh, man, like listening to the sound of the cars going by at your place gives me a little bit of nostalgia, Dean.
Well, I gotta say, I wonder, you know, if you guys still lived here, how many movies we would have watched at this point, you know?
Oh, holy shit.
6 feet away. We would have gone through your entire library.
Yeah, I haven't been watching a lot, actually.
I haven't either, actually, to be honest with you. My attention span has gone to nothing now. Like, there's too many other thoughts in my head to sit down and watch a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've tried to watch some...
ain't great.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think... yeah, the thoughts ain't great.
Thoughts ain't great.
What? So you're a graphic designer by trade. You're not doing a lot of that right now?
No, just a very little bit. Everything is slowed down for my business.
Yeah.
My personal bit, like my clients. So not a lot. I've done a little bit in the last few months, but not very much.
I hear that there's like there's stuff ramping up, particularly in the animation worlds. Is that?
Well, yeah.
Because they can do that from home.
That makes sense because you don't. A lot of people can still work at home doing animation, right?
But I think when this first started, I heard a rumor that Pixar laid off a ton of people, basically stopped development. But I don't know if that's true. Things swirl around in my head, and I don't.
It's such a... I mean, nobody really knows what the schedule is. So it's like, you know, you basically have to take it week by week. Mm-hmm. You know? There's plenty of movies and TV shows that want to be made. You know, they're all like going all the way back to March. Yeah, and all the stuff that's been filmed. I mean, you worked on the Venom movie that they delayed a year, right? I mean, that's going to... Yeah, that was in February. That was before the real... right, COVID-19, but they still delayed it because everything else got delayed, and so they'll probably put more reshoots into it, and who the hell knows? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. And so, are you doing personal projects? I mean, I've kind of gone back to sort of trying, as I talked to you before about like starting to draw again and try to draw like when I was a kid, you know, like sort of. Not worry so much about what your idea is. Just practice the craft, you know, and see, and go from there. You know, because I think for a long time I got kind of bent out of shape about not having the ideas, you know, and just like, you know, artist block or whatever you would call it. So Willis has been now I just draw whatever. Willis has been doing online life drawing classes. So there's like people. That's a great idea. There's people out there that are just, you know, posing nude in their backyard for $5 a person with, you know, that's awesome. Appropriate. That's a great idea. Yeah. So she's done 2 different ones. They're both. You should give her a text. She'll kind of tell you the info. But like, it's really rewarding for her because she hasn't done that stuff in decades either, and so she'll just hole up in her studio and like barrel through a half a pad of 18 by 14 or 18 by 24 and just do a bunch of 5-minute poses, you know, do a couple of 20s just to clear her mind. Yeah. But I've gotten a lot of like new pastimes that I've discovered from each sort of being forced here.
Like,
I'll just go to Google and look at a bunch of color palettes.
mm-hmm.
That's it. That's.
Oh, really?
That's the activity. Oh, that's a nice color palette. Yeah.
Do you print them out, save them, bookmark them?
No. I just look at them, experience them, and then I move on.
Would you help aggregate? Oh, that's another conversation. I'll do that again. We're trying to develop a PR style sheet because no one's ever done that, and we all have
Like
our
a
own.
one sheet kind
Yeah,
of thing?
just like what are the colors that we use? What are the fonts that we use? What are the blah 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 blah?
Oh.
And nobody really wants to lead that, including me. It needs.
I mean, I'll happily help you with it. I mean, yeah, we'll do it.
We're trying to figure out what the future is for that. I mean, nobody know, again, same thing. Nobody knows when things are going to be cool again. When are people going to want to go? When are people going to want to recreate indoors in a crowd again? Under what circumstances?
I mean, the key is to adapt, right?
Yeah.
Do some kind of outdoor event.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I mean, nobody knows really.
I had my first batch of French fries and a beer since March.
Where did you get the French fries?
Mare Island Brewing Company is open.
Oh yeah,
and they
I've been to that place.
expanded their outdoor seating, including on the roof. And so so there's a big circular roof that you can go up to. It's on the ferry side, on the Vallejo side.
Right, I remember the steps. They're by the coffee shop.
Yep, yeah.
Those stairs.
Yeah, so you go up those
That's
stairs
awesome,
and you get a picnic table and I had a Korean barbecue chicken sandwich and my God, it was so
maybe
good.
one of these days I'll have to get in my boat and row up there.
Row up here, yeah. That'll take about 2 weeks.
Probably.
Against current.
It's a lot farther than it seems.
Yeah.
Right. My perception is I could look out that window and see you, but I know that's not true.
No. But also you could get in your car and drive for 28 minutes. If you didn't want to row for 2 weeks, Dean.
Well, those are two completely different experiences, aren't they?
I mean, our door is open. We have a large enough backyard, at least until September, and we can accommodate lots of fun stuff.
I will happily come up there, but probably the people that are watching this, if there is anyone, don't want to know about that.
There's at least two people watching this, but they're probably my friends. So, welcome, friends.
Okay. Welcome, friends.
Welcome, friends of Dean and/or Conrad.
What have you been working on?
Reading. I'm trying to catch up on being thoughtful, not just barreling through things that require my physical presence, but trying to expand upon my mental presence a bit.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. I apply to like 2 jobs a week. I've been working on. We applied to like 4 or 5 grants with Aggregate. I'm managing a bunch of organization projects with that. But trying to stay mentally acute and trying to find a job that is appropriate, although maybe those aren't coming back around again. But I got high hopes.
Well, things are starting to come back a little bit, although this second coming is a little frightening, I'd have to say.
Oh yes, the
wave.
Yeah, it's the second part of the first wave. It's like
second part of the first wave, so not even the second wave.
It's Rambo 2.
Wow, such optimism.
Yeah.
This is not the second wave. This is the other half of the first wave.
Yeah, which is First Blood 2. Well, it was Rambo. It was called. That's what it was. There was no Rambo 2. Rambo 2 didn't exist. That was the joke.
Rambo First Blood.
No, it was. That was the joke.
Rambo 2.
Yeah.
No, the first movie was called First Blood.
Right, and then the second movie was called Rambo First Blood Part 2. And
Part
then
2, yeah.
And then the third movie was called Rambo 3. There was no Rambo 2.
That was the one that just came out, right? Didn't they just make? He
Last,
just made a movie.
yeah,
Like
he made a
last
movie.
year?
He made a movie called Last Blood, which I guess is.
That
It's.
70-year-old John Rambo.
I gotta be honest with you. I've only ever seen First Blood. I've not seen the other movies in that particular Stallone epic of films.
I also have only seen one, and I couldn't tell you if it was First Blood or First Blood Part 2.
Oh, I know what happened in them. What happened in the movie? Because the second one was the Taliban one, where he was in the Taliban, which is hilarious in retrospect.
Wait, when did that come out? In the 90s?
Yeah, oh yeah, in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, the one I saw was the 80s.
Was he shirtless?
He was young. He was young. Yeah, he was shirtless. Isn't he always shirtless? Well, not now, I suppose.
I mean, I'm sure he still is, and it's just gross.
Are you the one that I had the conversation with about Tom Cruise's nude body, or not nude body, but his bare chest?
We've had that conversation probably a couple of times because you and I have watched a lot of movies that.
Looking.
Yeah, it was in Jack Reacher. You were like, "What is wrong with it?"
Yeah.
We were watching the movie, and in the middle of the movie, in silence, you screamed, "What is wrong with his body?"
It's weird looking. Maybe it's a perspective thing. I don't know.
I mean,
Do you think that he's full of implants? Right? I shouldn't talk about this. This is live, actually, right? I shouldn't be talking.
No, so when I was trying to prepare a quote for this episode, so every one of these episodes, I go dig up a quote, and
After you record it?
No, before. I try to predict based on the person and my rapport with the person and what they got back to me about what we were going to talk about. I try to predict like a subject, and I've been drawing from these same 4 or 5 books that I've been like just pedaling through and adding post-its to, and I dug out the Gorgio Agamben. Like this is like philosophy book from 1994 by an Italian philosopher. And this book's called Man Without Content. And there's a section of the book where he starts talking about when it was that art when it was that art became needed to be understood, and that elite people would understand it and others wouldn't. Like and it's like at the end of the 17th century, beginning of the 18th century, when this started to creep up as an idea. But prior to that, like people designing, huge, beautiful buildings, that was equivalent to them designing the door knocker. Like there wasn't a good art, bad art, or high art, low art divide.
Right.
Until it was
all progress.
somewhat
right? It was
invented.
All progress. It was part of the
Yeah, and I feel like for you and I, for whatever reason, we agree about cinema, and it's why we can keep joking. Like it's like when I put together those history of film things, I was trying to like ride that line of like I want to compare, I can't even think of a good one. There was a noir one. Whatever week I had Ace Ventura against like something. I had Big Lebowski against North by Northwest. I mean, those are actually both kind. Well, there's a North by Northwest reference.
Similar in some way.
Yeah, it's Mistaken Identity, but also there's a reference to North by Northwest in Lebowski. But I did one of I had Ace Ventura in one of those. I don't remember which one, but I remember thinking like it's a legit noir minus the fact that it has a comedian in it. Anyway,
that kind of goes back to the Jerry Lewis discussion, like
right,
or the Martin Short, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of making the film with your all, or
yeah, or even the whole idea of celebrity in reference to filmmaking. Like if you put a big star in a movie, that big star comes with baggage. People know that big star, and sometimes it's fine, and other times it gets in the way, just like Martin Short,
Yeah.
Maybe that movie's awesome. Maybe it's terrific, but
it's weird. It's too weird
because it's Martin Short. It comes with all this, all his other characters. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was funny reading his autobiography. He was very fame obsessed from being a child, and that he kind of like I wouldn't say lucked into it, but like all those people were friends. It's so weird to listen about to a bunch of like, can you imagine like driving around Toronto, and it's like you and Gilda Radner and Dan Aykroyd and Eugene Levy. Nobody's famous yet, and Paul Schaefer. Like, I didn't know about that. Like, they were like friends from 22. Like, it's just such a crazy group of people that ended up really inventing American comedy in the late 20th century. That were all in the same circles, young. Yeah, I mean, it's just like
because they were all part of those groups, right? Like Second City and
it was before that. Like that's what I like. That was what was so startling to me is there was it was the Toronto version of Godspell, which was this like the second time it was ever put on stage, and all of these people gravitated towards it, and it was like the first Godspell in Toronto was Paul Schaefer playing piano. Martin Short was one of the backup singers. Eugene Levy was like the second person to play Jesus Christ. Dave Thomas was in it. Gilda Radner was in it. But they all knew those people. Like it was like that small group in that one play when they were all 23, all spread out and ended up on SCTV and
SCTV. That was the one I was trying to think of.
Oh yeah.
And then that became comedy cinema of the 80s and 90s are those people, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Ivan Reitman was in that same group. Like he was making
Ivan Reitman, Ghostbusters, and Uncle John Hughes.
He was Chicago. Yeah, the Chicago-Toronto connection.
Chicago, right?
Anyway, so back to high art, low art, and circling back even further to. Did we lose
10%? 10%. Should I plug in?
Should you plug in? What story should I tell while you're going and plugging in?
Story?
Yeah, I don't know. I should keep talking.
What are my choices for stories?
I could talk about movies. No. I don't know. I want to stick to the high art, low art thing. Because I think you have an appreciation for like well-made fine art as well as I do, but your field of practice is
low art
cinema. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to talk about Yosemite actually when you get back.
Yosemite the movie?
Yeah, that you were in. You were in, right? Go plug your.
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back.
So Yosemite was a film written by James Franco, the actor, who also wrote a book of short stories called Palo Alto, where he grew up, and then produced, I don't know if it was several films or one film called Yosemite, which Dean worked on in 2015, and I'm not sure, I actually just stumbled upon this when I was looking up Dean's bio on IMDb. I thought he went and worked on production for that film, but it lists him as playing a park ranger, and I embarrassingly have never seen this film that my friend worked on. So I find myself wondering, did Dean work on the film, or was he an actor within Yosemite? Anyway, Dean worked on a bunch of stuff in Chicago. The movie Source Code.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's a weird delay now, but it's good. Oh, almost.
Well, I had to plug my power in, and I can't have my headphones plugged in at the same time.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Well, it's regaining consciousness.
Can you hear me or not?
Yeah. So wait. So were you on production in Yosemite, or were you an actor?
I was on production. I was the art director.
On IMDb, it lists you as park ranger.
Yeah, I was in the movie. Did you see the movie?
No. I'm a terrible friend. I didn't know you were in it. I thought you were just a production assistant.
Well, no, I was the art director, but you know, when you're working on low budget movies, it happens more times than not that they need somebody standing at the bus stop or driving a car by. You know, like there's always a need when not a big budget movie. And so in that particular movie, there was a script, and also sometimes when you're making a film, it becomes sort of like a a friend, like people get comfortable with each other and it becomes sort of a familial thing.
Yeah.
And so they want you to be in the film because they want to be like, hey, you'd be great for this. Awesome. But not that I'm awesome, but like your friends, like, hey, I want to put my friends in the film. So there was a part for for a park ranger carrying a dead mountain lion, through this neighborhood. And that was the part that, instead of bringing an actor in, it was just like, well, it's just a park ranger carrying a dead cougar.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't one of us do it? It was that kind of thing.
Was there dialogue?
No.
No, you're
But
just.
I did have a van. I had a park ranger movie. It was took place in the mid '80s, so it was like this old van.
Uh-huh.
And had a stuffed mountain lion.
Oh.
Taxidermy mountain.
Was it really stiff? How do you?
No.
No.
I think it was actually created for film, so it was made in a way that it could act as a dead mountain lion.
Right, got it. That's a very particular question.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay or not?
Yeah, you're just there's a bigger delay than there was originally, which is causing humor.
That's so weird. Why would that be?
I don't know. I think there's a
powered
pause.
up.
But you look better than you did at the beginning. Not that you're de-aging or anything, but the sunlight on your face, you no longer look like Casper the ghost.
I'm not blurry.
On half your face. Yeah. No. Okay. Well, so I'm gonna read this quote. And then I kind of still want to hear about your experience working on that film. It's a bit of a longer quote, but it'll only be a minute. Okay. So this is the beginning of the section of this book called "The Man of Taste and the Dialectic of Spirit." Around the middle of the 17th century, the figure of the man of taste makes its appearance in European society. The figure, that is, of the man who is endowed with a particular faculty, almost with a sixth sense, as they started to say then, which allows him to grasp the point de perfection, that is, characteristic of every work of art. La Breguer's Characters, which was written in 1968, registers the appearance... 1668. Registered the appearance of this figure as a by now familiar fact. This makes it all the more difficult for the modern ear to perceive what is unusual in terms in which this disconcerting prototype of Western aesthetic man is presented. Writes Le Berger, there is in art a point of perfection, as there is in nature one of goodness and completeness. Anyone who feels this and loves it possesses a perfect taste. But he who is not sensible of it, and loves what is short of that point, or beyond it, is wanting in taste. Thus there exists a good and a bad taste, and we are right in discussing the difference between them. End quote. To measure the extreme novelty of this figure, one has to recognize that even in the 16th century, there was no clear boundary between good and bad taste, and that the experience of standing before a work of art and wondering about the correct way to understand it was not familiar even to the refined art lovers who commissioned work from Raphael or Michelangelo. The sensibility of time did not see a great difference between works of sacred art and mechanical dolls, the engines of the abasement, and the colossal ornamental stands full of automatons and live people that served to animate the banquets of princes and popes. The very same artists whom we admire for their frescoes and their architectural masterpieces also took part in producing decorations of all kinds of projected machines. Anyway, I don't know. It went into automatons a little bit there, which I think is what the rest of the chapter discusses. But I don't know. I love that idea that it was a bourgeois kind of invented thing.
Yeah, I missed some of that because of our connection.
Oh, well, that sucks.
I definitely heard some of the important parts. It reminds me of people when they say to me, like, oh, I like your drawings, but I can't draw. And I'm always like, you know what? The people that don't think that they can draw make the most amazing drawings.
Right.
Like if like if somebody who thinks they can't draw draws a flower, usually the most beautiful flower. Anyway, that's what it reminds me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just get focused on just what does it mean to try to enlighten our species, right? And that definitely can, I mean, you and I both have art degrees, but the fact that we've, for whatever reason, leaned into film as a hobby and, in your case, a profession, like it's a different thing. It's a more collaborative thing. It requires a lot more money. It gets into murky water because of that. But you can't do it alone, and so you can't. No filmmaker can make the perfect film that they wanted to make without a ton of help from a ton of people and a ton of buy-in and a ton of support. And obviously, these quotes were written before film, but Automatons was in large part a start to what eventually became of silent film and moving photography. So the idea that these these people designing these gorgeous frescoes and beautiful mansions were also kind of dabbling in how do we make something that the common man can just party to. Your sound has gone totally tragic.
I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you that well.
Yeah. Well, maybe we gotta wrap this up, Dean.
Oh man.
Well, now you're fine.
We could go on for another hour.
Yeah, we could go on for like a dozen hours. I still think we should do it.
All I did was add power to the situation.
Did you unplug the headphones?
What's that?
The headphones unplugged. The headphones. You're not. You didn't.
Disconcerting to see your mouth move, and I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I think it's because you unplugged your headphones.
I can't plug the headphones and the power at the same time. Maybe I'll be okay. Let me try it.
You only got to buy us 8 more minutes. There's at least 2 people that are listening to this, and we're changing their lives, Dean.
How about that? How about now?
Crystal clear.
Now I look terrible, but I sound better.
Now it's both. You look great. You sound great. You look. I haven't seen a face that beautiful since I saw The Day the Clowns Died.
You saw it?
No, I didn't. Parts of it exist online, but there's a famous person that wrote an essay about having seen it. It came out of an archive, and then they saw it, and then it went away again, and they talked about it. It might have like Jerry Seinfeld. It was some kind of comedy legend saw it and talked about having seen it.
Well, Jerry Lewis just died last year, right?
Was it just last year?
Maybe 2 years ago?
No.
It was recently, I thought. I could be wrong.
I don't know. He had an amazing energy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Crazy. Full on crazy.
For sure.
You and I.
So where do we go from here? Where do you go from here? Where does this show go from here?
What do you mean? Like the idea of the show, the continuation of me doing it? I mean, I don't know if I'm leaving my house in 2.5 months, I'm probably going to slow down on the extracurriculars. So I'm going to finish up season 0, which my goal was to do 20 of these, which this is number 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
15?
Yep.
Wow.
Where have you been,
That's
Gene?
great.
I've been doing like 2 a week. I took off a couple of weeks.
I've seen a few of them. I didn't know you were doing. I thought you were doing 1 a week.
I did 2 a week for a while. I pretty much do 2 a week every week, actually. I did Nana Tomasi on Sunday. That's a really good one. It's one of the.
Do you is part of the idea of the show that like you get to socialize? Like is that like part of the? I know you wanted to have this dialogue, but is it also like because we're not having so much socialization that
it is, but only to the end of like in the end, I miss running into strangers and talking about the things that they're working on. And
right.
This is obviously not that, because I'm curating like people that are not close friends for the most part, but friendly to talk about that. So that's the gist. I miss that. I miss that about Aggregate. I miss it about going out. I miss hearing people talk about their stories and talk about things that they're doing with their lives.
Yeah.
And I have a tendency to gravitate towards creative people, so that's where this new idea came from. Yeah, I hope the two people watching know both of us, and they feel like they're just hanging out by the bar at Aggregate during an opening, and listening to you and I BS with less fervor. This is actually far less contentious than they normally are.
Know me, I know. You know a lot more people than I do, so it's probably someone who knows you.
I think people that know Aggregate know you. You're like a staple.
I'm like the guy that leaned against the wall in the corner by the bar.
Yeah.
Not say anything.
That has a different haircut every show. Different beard, glasses, hair combo.
I'm a fickle character. That's all I can say.
The giant Dean guy. Who's the giant over by the bar?
So as soon as you hit pause on this show, we are going to record episode 1 of podcast, which is called what?
Do you have a Zoom recorder?
What's a Zoom recorder?
Do you have a
Zoom the app?
Do you have a high-end audio recorder? Get a high-end audio recorder and we'll record a podcast, and then we'll combine the two files.
What would the podcast be about? We've talked about this for about 5 years now.
I mean, I always like the idea of doing it around bad films, but I don't. We don't have to do that.
But really, are any films bad?
What? Yeah, right. But per the original conversation, no, they're not. What was that great name you came up with? Do you remember?
The Obvious Move. Was
it?
Was that it?
I don't.
That was one of. I come up with names all the time for stuff.
Yeah, spitballing. The Dean spitballing. I don't remember. There was a. I'll have to look back through my phone. There was a chat stream. I feel like Steffi Drews was on it. That maybe after a hike or something, where you texted it, and it was so good.
We came up with some names.
Yeah, it was a good name for.
Oh, we can look that up probably.
But yeah, I'm up for it, especially if I can like do it while I like the idea of talking about those disasters. But I mean, there's all sorts of people doing like podcasts while they're watching films now. Like that's a whole thing. I think somebody told me that YouTube.
No, yeah, you can watch them together, right?
Yeah, you can watch a movie together and record The Obvious Move. Yeah. Wow, 15. Jesse Walton's commenting on YouTube. Jesse Walton's watching this. Yeah.
Jesse Walton's tuned into this?
Jesse Walton is tuned into this.
Oh
yeah. The legend. I purchased...
Now I'm going to just get all quiet because I'm so much pressure to know...
Oh, see, you froze. That's even funnier. That you would freeze when you start to talk about how much pressure there is.
Watching.
Yeah. Did you...
You froze. Beard okay?
You froze the second you said, now there's so much pressure, and then you just were frozen.
You what?
You missed that. That's so good.
Now? You're back now. You're back.
Yeah.
Has this been the episode with the worst technical difficulties?
No, there's been 2 others.
Power and my sound issues and my light.
Unfortunately, the Christy Chan episode, which was episode 0013, Christy Chan, her computer just restarted at about like 52 minutes. And so I just finished the show by myself.
One of them was a little late, right? You started...
Oh, a little late? Yeah, no, that was like an hour late. The Carrie Hott and Kate Rhodes one, which was one of the most fun that I did, everything changed. Like I've been doing this like every 4 days for 2 months, and so I got into this rhythm of like at 5 minutes before 5, I just go into the app and hit play, and I went into the app to hit play, and it said you can't. And so then I had to like figure out why that was happening, and it was I thought it was YouTube. YouTube changed their whole authentication process post the amount of people that are now streaming on YouTube, I imagine, during COVID. And oh geez, he's frozen again. But yeah, so I was like scrambling to figure out that problem, and I figured it out. And so I'm looking at you on a screen, and I'm looking at a phone on a screen, and I'm looking at my computer. So I have a fourth screen in this room that's showing me the live stream from YouTube in an incognito window. And so that's basically to prove that it's happening.
Well, that's why the connection breaks. Right.
I don't think so.
You're using a lot of bandwidth, though.
My bandwidth's fine up here. You're the problem, Dean.
You got the fiber, do you?
Yeah, we're fine up here. Yeah, we're like 900 megabytes download. It's crazy. It's so crazy compared to what we paid the same amount that we were paying in Oakland, and it's like
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's insane. It's literally insane, the speed of the internet up here. I think our upload speed is like 20 megabytes per second.
But you're saying you don't have fiber?
I don't know what we have. I think it's just cable.
You don't have fiber?
It's just it's cable, but it's light. Anyway, so the Carry Hot one. So I get it going on the computer because I had to go over there to start working on it, and I finally got to this screen where it looked like I was live streaming. I could see a reflection of myself, but I wasn't thinking that I had to log in.
Yeah.
I had to log into YouTube to get to that point, so I was no longer looking at an incognito window proving that it was actually happening. And so I came back to this chair, and we started the conversation, and like 25 minutes into the conversation, both of the guests start getting these texts that say, are you going to go live or what? It's been like 40 minutes. And I realized that because I logged in, I'm only looking at like the back end, and I never hit like go live, which I never had to do before. And I haven't had to do since. So it was this one episode that went completely sour. So when the episode that's on YouTube starts, it's just after finding out that I made this terrible mistake. And so the first 10 minutes of it is me just my heart pounding and being completely embarrassed of my position in the world. It's pretty funny. But then the episode was really good.
That's what season 00 is for. To iron out the kinks.
Right. Yeah.
Season 1, you'll be flawless.
Right. And that may or may not happen, depending on where I am in the world. Fingers crossed, it's Oakland. Yeah.
I think maybe you'll invite me back, kind of like Johnny Carson. You'll invite me back for the next season.
I mean, that's the plan. There's a bunch of people that I can't wait to invite back. But
I got a lot more to say. We're running out of time here.
I think we have to come up. We have to just do the podcast. We have to do it. You have to buy an audio recorder.
You have one.
I do.
So we both have to have one.
Yeah, because, unless we're hanging out. I could come up here. I have lavaliers that are good for like 30 feet. You could just come up here. We could just sit in the backyard and do it.
Well, once we decide of a good topic for it, I'll definitely come up there and do it.
The obvious move. Yeah.
Right, the obvious move. What is the move?
I don't even know what that means. What does the obvious move mean?
It just sounds good, doesn't it? Think of the logo. What'd you think of the logo?
I'm still trying to get you to do a logo for this new idea.
I did some, but we kind of stalemated there.
I mean,
the last version.
You should check your email. I think my last response was, "Can you just riff on this one for a second?"
I didn't get that. I honestly didn't get that.
I don't believe you.
Are you serious? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I've just been waiting.
The next time you don't hear anything from me, just write me again, because sometimes my email gets lost, and it's just like, I didn't get that.
It must be that.
Shit. I'll start riffing.
Yeah, I like that. Well, anyway, we should do a podcast. Yeah. Nobody's going to listen to it except for Jesse Walton, and It was really good to talk to you. I was a lot more comfortable today. I've had a rough mental week, so it was nice to just.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, just
I
find.
thought we were a little all over the place because the other episodes I've seen, everybody's like talking very succinctly. Everyone knows their shit, and they're talking about their experiences and art and all that stuff. And this has just been a Dean shit show.
Yeah, well, it's a meandering. I mean, that's for sure. But I think that's part of it. You know, I mean, some
Meandered, yeah.
some creative processes are a bit of a mess. We can just accept that as adults. I'll accept it as an adult.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dean, for being a part of episode 15.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm gonna sign you off here.
All right, take care, man.
You too, man.
See ya.
Thank you for joining myself and guest Dean DeMatteis on episode 15 of This New Idea. I will be back on Monday. What is the date? June 14th? June 15th? June 14th? June 15th. June 15th, Monday, at 5 p.m. with Eddie Falconer, animator, and somebody I'm really excited to talk about. So I will see you then. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you on This New Idea.